Hello, my name is Bridget. I'm 36 years old and a mother to my beautiful son, Grayson, who is 7 years old. Recently, our lives got thrown into a whirlwind when I found out that my husband had been cheating on me. But I did not let him get away with it easily. Let me tell you how things went down. I met my husband, Damon, on the dating app. We clicked really well. We never seemed to run out of conversations. Not to mention we share the same sense of humor, and he made me laugh like no one else had. I'm only saying all this because these qualities of his blinded me from seeing all the negative qualities that he had. For starters, he was a 26-year-old man who still lived with his mother because he could not seem to hold a job down. I tried my best to get him to attend interviews for jobs that I took the time to set and apply for, but he just never seemed to care that much about it. On top of that, his mother, Shirley, hated me. I have no idea why she hated me, but now I realize it was because I was not rich enough to enable her lazy son's lifestyle. She would always tell Damon that he could do better than me while I was standing right there. She would make snide remarks about me and would insult me at every point that she could. At no point did Damon ever stand up for me and correct his mother. Instead, he would try to make me feel better and would tell me to just ignore the things his mother said and did. And so that was what I did. I learned to ignore what Shirley said to me, even though her words hurt me. I truly was blinded by love for Damon. Because when he proposed to me after 2 years of dating, I said yes. Shirley was not happy about us getting engaged, and neither were my parents because they really didn't like Damon for obvious reasons. So Damon and I eloped about a year after we got married. I got pregnant with my son Grayson. Grayson truly was the only light in my life at that point. I say that because after giving birth to Grayson, my workload only increased. Initially, Damon got a job, and for the first few months of Grayson's life, we were doing well. But then he lost his job, and I had to pick up extra hours. Then, a few months later, Damon would land himself a better job, only to lose it again. This cycle continued for the next 7 years until finally, Damon landed a good job after Grayson's 7th birthday. He was getting paid well, and while I didn't hold out much hope for him keeping it, he surprisingly stayed there for over 6 months, which was a huge surprise. I was finally beginning to settle into my new comfortable life until one day Damon told me about a conversation that he had with his mother. So I was talking to my mom today, and she told me that she was feeling all alone at home. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, she doesn't have many people to meet or many places to go. I just feel really bad about it, you know. Of course, I would love to go over and maybe keep her company some days after work, but you know how she doesn't like me. Yeah, I don't think that would make her feel any better, but she did propose an idea to me, and I told her that I'd run it by you before giving her an answer. Okay, what is it? She suggested that I send Grayson over every weekend, and some weekends I could even stay with the two of them, and I'm not invited at all. You know how she feels about you. I mean, you said it yourself. Yeah, but don't you think it really means that she's purposely trying to exclude me from my own family? I see where you're coming from, but I also can't just ignore my mother. You can't ignore your mother, but you can ignore and isolate your wife. That's amazing, Damon. Oh, come on, there's no need to be so dramatic about this. Just give me a straight answer, yes or no. I am not being dramatic, Damon. How would you feel if the tables were turned? Of course, I'd feel bad, but this is the family we're talking about. Besides, Grayson loves Mom, and I'm sure he'd be happy to spend his time with her. I know that. It's just sad how you'll always pick your mother over me, even when she's treating me so wrong. Come on, that's not true. I always pick your side. I mean, I agree with you right now that my mom doesn't treat you right. Agreeing with me in private does not show me anything. Your actions tell me everything I need to know. Why am I even fighting you on this? Do whatever you want. My relationship with Shirley hadn't gotten any better even after I gave birth to Grayson. I knew she did not like me in any way, but for her to actively exclude me from any and all family time that I had with Grayson made me so angry and upset. Damon kept pressing me for an answer as the weekend drew nearer. At some point, I realized that I needed to prioritize Grayson over my feelings, so I asked him if he would like to spend his weekends with his grandmother. Grayson was enthusiastic about the idea, so I told Damon that he could go the first weekend that Grayson went over to Shirley's house. Damon also accompanied him, so I was left at home all alone. Even though I felt sad, I took that time to finally rest up and spend some quality time with my family and friends. When Grayson returned on Sunday evening, I noticed that he had been dropped off by Shirley's friend and that he came back home with a bag of gifts for him. I got a call from Shirley shortly. After "Hello, Bridget, did Grayson reach home safely?" "Hi, Shirley, yes, he just did." "I'm so sorry that I could not drop him off myself. I had some important errands to run." "It's okay, Grayson's home safe. He had a blast at your place. Thank you for having him over." "Of course, I love having him over. Thanks for agreeing to it." "I hope I'm not taking away any of your time with Grayson." "No, it's okay. I make time for him daily. Besides, he loves going over to your place, especially now that you spoil him with gifts. Which, by the way, thank you so much." "Nonsense. There's no need to thank me. Grayson is my only grandson, so I have to spoil him as best I can." "Yeah, Grayson takes very good care of the gifts you give him. It's the first time I've seen him be so careful with things." "Really? That's good to hear. But even if he didn't take care of them, I'd still buy him those things again. After all, I have that kind of money to spend on him." "Yeah, well, I think it's still a good lesson for him to learn. The lesson is that he always has to take good care of his things because his mother is too poor to buy him things again." "Excuse me. Look, between you and I only invited Grayson over every weekend because I was tired of seeing him look poor. You're clearly not doing enough to provide for him, so I want to spoil him. Why are you blaming me for that? Your son can barely hold down a job, so I'm the one who's stuck paying all the bills and looking after us. Don't you dare blame Damon for anything. The poor boy's been through enough. What are you even talking about? If it wasn't for me, we'd be starving in the streets right now. He has to deal with an incompetent wife like you. Of course, his mental health is in the gutter right now, which is not allowing him to hold down a job. You know what? You're absolutely insane. You can't see a single flaw in your son. And even if you do, you're just projecting them onto me. That's something you need to seek help for. You don't tell me what to do. I can see why else Damon is always stressed out. You just always have an answer for everything. I don't want to talk to you much anyway. I only called to check in on Grayson, but bye." I couldn't believe the nerve that Shirley had to talk to me in that manner. I wanted to call her back and really chew her out for being so mean to me, but I didn't. I knew that we already had a very rocky relationship, and the last thing I wanted was for Grayson to recognize that there was something wrong between his mother and grandmother. So even though I didn't want to send Grayson over to Shirley's after that conversation, I continued to do it because it made him happy. I never spoke to Shirley after that either because that was the only way that I knew how to keep my mind at peace. That's how things went for the next 3 months until one day Grayson came back home from Shirley's house carrying a very expensive-looking bag. A quick look at the price tag told me that it was $11,000. Wow, what a nice bag. I know, right? Oh wow, is this a designer bag? And hold on, is this a price tag? It's very expensive. Yeah, Grandma told me that I needed to be extra careful with this bag because it's really expensive. Grayson, sweetie, I think you need to give Grandma the backpack back. What? Why? Because it's a very expensive backpack. You might dirty it or even lose it. Besides, I don't think it'll look nice when you walk into class with this bag. Other children might damage it too. But I like this bag. I know, sweetie, but I really don't think it's wise for you to walk around with such an expensive bag. Why don't you give it back to Grandma so she can keep it safely till you grow just a little bit older? Why would I return the bag to Grandma? Because she bought you the bag, silly. No, she didn't. What do you mean? Did Daddy buy you the bag? He doesn't have that kind of money, though. No, Grandma didn't buy the bag. But my new mom did. New mom. Sweetie, what are you talking about? Daddy made me go over to Grandma's every weekend so he could introduce me to my new mom. She's so rich and pretty, and she buys me everything I want. And Grandma knows about this new mom. Yeah, Daddy told me that Grandma made Daddy and new mom meet. Daddy says that she makes him very happy. Do you like your new mom, sweetie? Yes, I like her a lot. She always tells me that when she becomes my new mom officially, she's going to take me far away with my dad. Oh, okay, that's enough about the new mom. Why don't you get washed up, and we'll eat dinner together? I tried to make sense of what Grayson told me, but I really couldn't. Of course, I knew deep down inside what Grayson was actually saying. Damon was cheating on me with someone that Shirley probably introduced him to, considering how she always thought that I was no good for her son. I didn't want to believe that at all, and I tried to put that conversation with Grayson out of my mind for the rest of the week. But I found myself unable to do that, and just 3 days later, I finally gave in and went through Damon's phone when he fell asleep. What I found shocked me to my core. Damon was cheating on me, and it was with a woman named Vivian. A quick look at her socials told me that she was the daughter of one of the biggest businessmen in our city, and she was a civil lawyer. That explains how she was able to give Grayson such an expensive gift. That was not the shocking part, though. The shocking part was that Damon had told Vivian that he had divorced me and talked about me like I was a wicked ex who only tormented him and took away his full custody of Grayson. He invented lie after lie about how I ruined his life and how I was the reason that he struggled to get a job. The job that he had was because Vivian pied him and found him that job. My blood was boiling. I couldn't believe that I spent all my time and energy working so hard to provide for this man-child, only for him to throw it all in my face and call me wicked. I texted Vivian from my social media account and introduced myself to her. The next day, I told her that I had something important to tell her and asked her if we could meet at a coffee shop. She agreed. The next day, I was nervous, but I knew that I was doing the right thing. Eventually, Vivian walked in and approached me. Hey, I'm Vivian. Are you Bridget? Yes, hi. It's so nice to meet you. You too. So what are we meeting about? First of all, I just wanted to thank you for the expensive gift that you gave my son, Grayson. It really was such a sweet gesture, but I really don't think it's right for a child to have such an expensive bag. Oh no, it's okay. Hey, Damon told me that you would not really like the expensive bag. I didn't mean to offend you in any way, though. I just wanted to give it to Grayson because I thought he'd like it. Grayson loved it, but I still don't think it's appropriate. But what do you mean by you didn't mean to offend me? Well, Damon told me that you were struggling as a single parent and that seeing such an expensive bag would probably hurt your ego. Wow, that's rich coming from him. But speaking of Damon, the other reason that I asked you to meet me was about him. Oh, what about him? It seems like he's told you that he and I have divorced, and we share custody of Grayson. Yes, well, his mother told me, actually. Her mom and my mom are friends that happened to reconnect a few months ago. My mom told his mom that I was single, so they set us up. Oh, wow, okay. I did not know that. But I need to tell you that Damon and I are still very much married. What? You're lying to me. Damon told me that you tried to sabotage our relationship because you were jealous that he was moving on. I have no reason to lie. Where do you think Damon lives? With his mother. No way, I'm the one that he still lives with because we're still married. I have to say, this is very prophetic of you to do. I didn't think you were the best person to begin with, but to lie and sabotage someone's relationship out of pure jealousy is just sad. Do me a favor, the next time you see Damon, why don't you ask him to show you our divorce certificate? You have my number in case you want to get even with him. I watched silently as Vivian grabbed her things and left me sitting at the same table. She stormed off angrily towards her car. I hoped really hard that my words had some impact on her and she'd take me up on my suggestion. I sat at that coffee shop for a little while longer because I really did not feel like going back home. Until I eventually left to go back home, I looked into Vivian some more because I was curious about what kind of person she was. She was apparently a really good person. She volunteered for a lot of different things, depending on how much free time she had. She regularly donated to women's and children's homes, and overall seemed to be a generous person. That made me understand just why Grayson adored her so much. Not for her generosity only, but also because she was genuinely a nice person. The more I thought about it, the more I really did feel bad for Vivian. If I found out that my relationship with someone turned out to be a lie that resulted in me doing something that I was okay with, I would not want to believe it. I really prayed and hoped that Vivian would see that I was right, because I wanted more than anything to ruin Damon's life for what he did to me, Grayson, and our family. My prayers were answered in 2 weeks. I was at work when I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't pick it up at first because I don't pick up unknown calls, but the number called me again and again back to back. Eventually, I picked it up and realized that it was Vivian on the other end. My heart was in my throat because of how nervous I was about what she was going to tell me. Hey, Bridget, can we talk? Hi, yes, of course. Is everything all right? No, it's not. Did I prove you right, or are you going to yell at me again? I'm so sorry for the way I left you last time we met. It's okay, I understand that it's hard to digest information like that. It really was. I'm a woman who has very strict morals, and helping a man cheat on his partner or spouse is something I absolutely loathe. I would never have done it, and I'm so sorry that I did it with your husband. Whoa, how did you confirm that Damon was married? Well, for the past week or so, I kept badgering him with questions about the divorce. I kept asking to see the divorce papers. Let me guess, he snapped at you eventually. Oh yeah, big time. He started yelling at me at the top of his lungs. Aside from a lot of cuss words, he also called me insecure for not trusting him. That immediately raised a lot of alarms in my head. I'm not surprised that Damon wouldn't change even when he was with another woman. But how did you get the confirmation for his lies? I approached Shirley. She was the one that introduced me to Damon, so she had to have the answers. She did not give you your answer easily, did she? I knew she wouldn't, so I approached her like how I would approach my clients. I essentially goaded it out of her. When she realized that she had slipped up, she kept apologizing for tricking me and told me that she had no option because Damon was in a miserable relationship. She told me that Damon was still in the process of filing for a divorce, but even I knew that was a lie. Oh wow, what did you say to that? I just told her that she and her son were disgusting people. I picked my things up and left. I called you immediately to apologize. I really, really am sorry for coming in between you and Damon. You have nothing to apologize for. Damon and Shirley tricked you. If you had known, you never would have involved yourself in a relationship with him. Besides, you've made your amends by believing me and asking for proof of divorce. You told me last time that you wanted to take revenge. Is that option still on the table? Of course, I just need to figure out how to go about doing it. And I kind of was counting on your legal advice to help plan out a revenge. Oh, I've got a lot of good ideas to get back at Damon. How about we meet at the same coffee shop tomorrow and plan everything out? That sounds good. I was so happy that Vivian was a good person with a conscience. I was even happier that I managed to get her on my side. We met up the next day at the coffee shop. Vivian looked like she hadn't slept at all, and my heart really went out to her because I was in the same boat as her. I understood her heartbreak all too well. That understanding that we shared was actually, in an odd way, comforting. We spent the first hour of our meeting just talking about how we felt. We even cried a little. I felt like I had found a new friend in her. As funny as that is, it was true. Once we were done feeling our feelings, we got to talking about our plan. Within half an hour, we had drawn up our plan. Vivian was a woman of immense influence, and she used her influence and connections to help Damon get his good job. In the same way that she had gotten him that job, she took his job away from him. But that was not before she helped me out. She got me acquainted with a lawyer friend of hers who specialized in divorces. Her friend helped me get all my affairs in order and also helped me gather all the proof and evidence necessary to get full custody of Grayson. I started the filing process for the divorce, and when we got the divorce papers in our hands, we planned to drop both news on Damon at the same time to worsen the blow and embarrass him. So Vivian pulled her strings and had Damon fired publicly. To be fair, he was lousy with his work, and the only reason he was still there was because of Vivian's connections. On top of that, I had the divorce papers served to him just after he got fired, in front of all his colleagues. It didn't take long for Damon to call me and demand answers for what was happening. What is this? Oh, I see that you got the divorce papers. Yes, and they were served to me while I was at work. Do you know how embarrassing that was for me, especially on the day that I lost my job? You lost your job. That does not matter. Why are you trying to divorce me? Are you serious? Of course I am. What have I done to you to deserve this, Damon? Don't try and act like you've been the perfect husband. I'm tired of you, and I want out. Is this all about my mother? Can you not, for 1 second, make everything about you and your feelings? Do my feelings not matter at all? I mean, I totally see why my mother hates you, right? That's why you were cheating on me with Viv and your mom's friend's daughter. What? How do you? How do you think you lost your job, huh? You planned this. More like Vivian was more than angry that you lied to her about being divorced. She has some very strict morals, all of which you knew, apparently, and you made her violate them. What did you say to her? I only told her that you were still married to me. That set her off, and she took her revenge. Now it's my turn. You can't leave me. I have nothing. How do I live now? Go live with your mother, who cares so much for you that she enables you to cheat on your hardworking wife and break your family. Look, I'm so sorry. I promise I'll be better. I'll cut all ties with my mom. Please don't leave me. You already told Vivian that we were divorced, and I'm just making this a reality. Everything that you want to do to make up for your pathetic behavior will not work. It's a little too late for apologies. What did you expect from me? The two most important women in my life hated each other's guts, and I was always in the middle of the crossfire. And you still chose your mother, which means I was never important to you from the start. I really don't have anything more to discuss with you like this. Just get yourself a lawyer and communicate with mine. You need to take your things and get out of this house. You can't make me leave my own home. Is it your house? Because last time I checked, the house is in my name, and I've been the only one that's paid for the mortgage. I've packed your things. Take it and leave. I hung up on Damon after that. It broke my heart that things had to end this way. I really tried my absolute best to be the person that he'd love and cherish, but getting my revenge on him made me feel like everything I did for him was justified, especially since he only felt apologetic when he realized that he lost both the women that he was trying to mooch off of. His audacity was truly astounding, and I wanted nothing more to do with him. I called my dad over to be with me until Damon came back, because I didn't think that he'd actually leave on his own. Thankfully, my dad arrived about 10 minutes before Damon showed up. When Damon came home, he didn't see my dad and began to yell at me at the top of his lungs because I was not a good wife and told me that was the reason that he found another woman to look after his needs. My dad came when he heard what was happening from the living room and came in to tell Damon that it was prophetic that he relied on someone else to provide for him instead of getting a proper job to do that for himself. Damon shrunk back into himself when he saw my dad, who is a big, muscular guy, by the way, and always intimidated Damon because my dad never liked him. Damon picked his things up with his head hanging low and walked out of the house, but not before dropping the signed divorce papers in front of me. He knew it was not going to be a smart decision to contest a divorce, especially since he wouldn't have the funds to pay for a lawyer. It was really hard to tell Grayson about why his dad was no longer going to be around the house. Grayson was thankfully really understanding. He did ask me about Vivian, and I told him that Vivian would swing by every once in a while to meet him. She really did take a liking to him and asked me if she could continue to visit him from time to time. I knew that Grayson really liked her too, so I saw no point in stopping them from seeing each other, especially since she helped me get my revenge on Damon. I knew that she was a good person who was just coerced into doing something bad. My divorce with Damon is still in the process, but Grayson and I are moving on to better things. Now that I have a freer budget, I get to actually spoil my son, and seeing him so happy is the only thing that's keeping me going. Vivian and I have become good friends, and we meet up every other week, and sometimes even have a good long laugh at Damon using her connections. Vivian told me that Damon is still struggling to make ends meet, and he's back to living with his mother. He's been applying everywhere to get a better job, but Vivian made sure that he would not get a job in his field in our city at all. At best, he'd have to move away, or he'd have to settle for working in low-paying jobs. Whatever it is, I'm happy that my son and I have come away from that experience completely fine and happy. Thank you for listening to my story.
I'm taking everything, you get nothing. Marcus sneered, tossing his coffee mug into the sink with enough force to chip it. I stood in our kitchen, the morning sunlight streaming through the windows we'd picked up together, watching my husband of 8 years pack the last of his things. My name is Olivia, and at 35, I was witnessing the end of my marriage in real time. Marcus, once the loving man who promised to grow old with me, was now a stranger consumed by his midlife crisis and his new girlfriend, Amber. "You're making a mistake," I said calmly, my voice steadier than I felt. "We should handle this properly through lawyers." He laughed, that cruel, dismissive sound I'd grown familiar with over the past few months. "Lawyers? Why? So you can try to take half of what I've built?" "I don't think so, Olivia. I've already emptied our joint accounts. Good luck proving what's yours and what's mine." I watched him swagger around our kitchen, his confidence fueled by what he thought was a brilliant plan. He had no idea that I'd been preparing for this moment for nearly a year, ever since I found the first suspicious charge on our credit card statement. "At least let's discuss this rationally," I attempted one last time, though I knew it was futile. Marcus was too far gone, too convinced of his own cleverness. There's nothing to discuss, he spat, checking his phone as another text from Amber lit up his screen. I'm moving in with Amber. She understands me, supports my dreams. Unlike you, who's been holding me back all these years. I thought about the promotion I turned down 3 years ago so he could take that job in Seattle. About the countless nights I'd stayed up helping him prepare presentations, the weekends spent networking with his colleagues, the dreams I'd put on hold to support his ambitions. Is that what you really think? I asked, maintaining my composure. That I held you back? Look at you, he gestured dismissively. Still so calm, so controlled. This is exactly why I'm leaving. You're like a robot, Olivia. No passion, no fire. Amber makes me feel alive. Ah, yes. Amber. The 24-year-old personal trainer who'd caught my husband's eye at his gym 6 months ago. Young, exciting Amber, who had no idea that Marcus had done this before, with his previous wife, 10 years ago. I see, I said, taking a sip of my coffee. And you're sure about this? About leaving without any formal separation or divorce agreement? Absolutely, he grinned, pulling his designer suitcase toward the door. You'll be hearing from me once I'm settled. Maybe I'll let you keep some furniture. As he reached for the door handle, I couldn't help but smile. You might want to rethink that, Marcus. He paused, turning back with an annoyed expression. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I shrugged. Just that actions have consequences. His face darkened. Is that a threat? Are you threatening me? Not at all. I'm simply stating a fact. You might want to check the actual balance of those accounts you emptied. For the first time that morning, uncertainty flickered across his face. He pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen as he checked his banking app. I watched as the color drained from his face. What? What did you do? He stammered. Me? Nothing. But it seems the bank has some concerns about recent unusual activity on our accounts. They might have frozen things temporarily. Standard procedure, you understand. You bid. Careful, I cut him off. You wouldn't want to add verbal abuse to the documentation, would you? He stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I waited until I heard his car screech out of the driveway before pulling out my own phone. Hello, Detective Morgan. Yes, he just left. Exactly as we predicted. Yes, I have the recordings and bank statements ready. And the footage from the security cameras? Perfect. 3 days, you said. I'll be ready. I hung up and walked to our home office, my office now, opening the safe hidden behind my collection of true crime novels, books Marcus had always mocked me for reading. I pulled out a thick file. Inside was a year's worth of evidence, bank statements showing his gradual siphoning of our accounts, photos of him and Amber taken by the PI I'd hired, records of the offshore account he thought I didn't know about, and most importantly, proof of his systematic embezzlement from his company's client accounts. Marcus thought he was so clever, so careful. He never realized that his first wife had contacted me 6 months ago, warning me that he'd done the same to her. By then, I'd already started gathering evidence, but her information helped me know exactly where to look. I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and began composing an email to his company's board of directors. In 3 days, Marcus's carefully constructed house of cards would come crashing down. But for now, I had work to do. The next 3 days passed in a blur of calculated moves and carefully orchestrated steps. Marcus's angry texts and voicemails piled up, each one more desperate than the last. Unfreeze the accounts, Olivia. You have no right to do this. I swear you'll regret this. I forwarded each message to Detective Morgan, adding to the growing pile of evidence. Meanwhile, Amber had taken to social media, posting about their perfect love story and how Marcus was escaping his toxic marriage. Each post was carefully documented and archived by my lawyer. On the morning of the 3rd day, I sat in Detective Morgan's office, reviewing the final details. The stern-faced detective spread out the documents across her desk, nodding approvingly. The evidence is solid, she said, tapping a folder containing bank statements. Your husband's been embezzling money for years, using client accounts as his personal piggy bank. When did you first notice? I smiled faintly. The numbers never quite added up. Marcus thought because I was just a housewife, I wouldn't understand complex financial transactions. He forgot I used to work in forensic accounting. Detective Morgan raised an eyebrow. A fact he's about to regret overlooking. My phone buzzed. Another message from Marcus. Babe, let's talk about this. We can work something out. Call me. He's getting nervous, I observed. Has the board received my email? They're meeting right now, Detective Morgan confirmed. The evidence you provided about the embezzlement was comprehensive. The arrest warrant has been issued. We're moving in within the hour. I thought about Marcus and Amber probably lounging in their luxury hotel suite, planning their future with money stolen from innocent clients. Money he'd moved through our joint accounts, thinking he was being clever by making me an unwitting accomplice. You know, Detective Morgan said, studying my face, most people in your situation would have just filed for divorce when they discovered the affair. I shook my head. This isn't about the affair. It's about justice. Those clients trusted him with their money. He betrayed that trust, just like he betrayed our marriage vows. My phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. Marcus's first wife, Diana. Olivia? Her familiar voice came through. It's happening. The board just fired him. My friend in HR said they're cooperating fully with the police. Thank you, Diana, I said softly, for everything, for warning me, for helping me understand his patterns. We both deserve better, she replied. I just wish I'd been brave enough to stop him sooner. After hanging up, I checked my email. The board had copied me on their formal statement. Marcus was being terminated for gross misconduct, and all clients would be notified of the ongoing investigation. Detective Morgan stood up, straightening her jacket. Ready? I nodded, gathering my things. We had arranged for me to be at the police station when they brought him in. I wanted to see his face when he realized just how completely his plan had backfired. The drive to the station felt surreal. Through social media updates, I could track Marcus and Amber's last moments of freedom. She had just posted a poolside selfie with the caption, "Living our best life with my soulmate. #TrueLove, #New Beginnings. If only she knew." My phone rang again. Marcus. This time I answered. Olivia, please, he began, his voice urgent. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. I can explain everything. Can you explain the $2.3 million missing from client accounts? I asked calmly, or the offshore transfers, or the fake investment reports. Silence. How did you? Goodbye, Marcus. I believe the police will be there soon. I suggest you answer their questions truthfully. It might help reduce your sentence. I hung up as we pulled into the police station parking lot. Detective Morgan led me to a waiting area with a view of the entrance. It won't be long now, she assured me. She was right. Within 30 minutes, the station burst into activity. Through the glass doors, I watched as officers led Marcus in, handcuffed and disheveled. Behind him, a tearful Amber was being escorted separately, her mascara running down her face. Our eyes met as they led him past the waiting area. The shock on his face when he saw me sitting there, calm and composed, was almost comical. Gone was the arrogant man who'd sneered at me 3 days ago. In his place was a pale, frightened version of my husband, finally facing the consequences of his actions. Mrs. Wilson. A young officer approached me. We'll need your official statement now. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. Of course. I have everything documented, organized by date, with supporting evidence for each incident. As I followed the officer to an interview room, I heard Marcus's voice echo down the hallway. Olivia, please. Tell them this is a mistake. But I kept walking. Some mistakes I'd learned weren't meant to be fixed. They were meant to be exposed. 6 months after Marcus's arrest, I sat in my newly renovated home office, reviewing the final divorce settlement. The morning sun streamed through windows that no longer held any painful memories, just promise. The trial had been swift and decisive. With the mountain of evidence I'd gathered, along with Diana's testimony about his previous schemes, Marcus had no choice but to plead guilty. 8 years of fraud and embezzlement earned him 15 years in prison. His attempts to blame me for the missing money fell apart under scrutiny. Amber, it turned out, hadn't known about the fraud, but she happily spent the stolen money. She was ordered to return everything she'd received from Marcus. The last I heard, she'd moved back in with her parents, her social media dreams of luxury living shattered. My phone buzzed with a text from Diana. Just saw the news about the settlement. Congratulations. Coffee next week. We'd become unlikely friends, bonded by our shared experience. She'd rebuilt her life after Marcus, showing me it was possible to thrive after such betrayal. Now it was my turn. The doorbell rang, my lawyer arriving with the final paperwork. "Everything's settled," she announced, spreading documents across my desk. "The judge was particularly impressed with your documentation. The divorce is final, and you're completely cleared of any involvement in the fraud. Plus, since Marcus used joint accounts for his schemes, you're entitled to a significant portion of his legitimate assets." I signed where indicated, each stroke of the pen feeling like freedom. "What about the restitution to the clients?" "The recovered funds have been returned. Your cooperation with the investigation was crucial in tracking down the money. Several clients have actually reached out, wondering if you'd consider helping them manage their accounts in the future." I smiled, thinking about the forensic accounting career I'd abandoned to support Marcus. Maybe it's time to get back into the field. After my lawyer left, I walked through the house that was now truly mine. I'd redecorated, erasing traces of Marcus and creating a space that reflected who I was, not who he'd wanted me to be. The media had been fascinated by the case, the calculating fraudster, the young girlfriend, the wife who quietly gathered evidence for a year before bringing it all crashing down. They wanted interviews, book deals, TV appearances. I declined them all. This wasn't about fame or revenge, it was about justice. My phone rang. Detective Morgan. "Just checking in," she said warmly. "The DA wanted you to know that your case has inspired other fraud investigations. People are learning to pay attention to the warning signs." "That makes it worth it," I replied. "How's Marcus adjusting to prison?" "Not well," she chuckled. "Apparently luxury jumpsuits aren't his style. He's still insisting you set him up." "Of course he is. Marcus never could accept responsibility for his actions." After we hung up, I opened my laptop to find an email from Marcus's former company. They were offering me a position heading their new internal audit department. Apparently, my handling of Marcus's case had impressed the board. Life had a strange way of coming full circle. Marcus had always belittled my career aspirations, insisting I focus on supporting his dreams instead. Now his downfall had opened doors I thought were permanently closed. Diana's words from months ago echoed in my mind. We both deserved better. She was right. We deserved better than a man who viewed marriage as a convenience and wives as accessories to be upgraded when they became too knowing, too wise to his schemes. I picked up the framed news article on my desk, the one announcing Marcus's conviction. Not out of spite, but as a reminder that I was stronger than I'd known, smarter than he'd given me credit for, and capable of rebuilding my life on my own terms. Opening my calendar, I scheduled lunch with Diana for next week. Then I began drafting a response to the job offer. It was time to step back into the world of numbers and ledgers, this time using my skills to prevent others from being deceived as I had been. The setting sun cast long shadows across my office as I finished my workday. In the quiet of evening, I felt no regret, no lingering anger, just peace. Marcus had thought he was taking everything from me, but in trying to leave me with nothing, he'd actually given me the push I needed to reclaim everything. My career, my confidence, and my future. I closed my laptop and smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't plotting and scheming. It's simply making sure justice is served, and then moving forward to build a better life than you had before. Marcus thought he was writing the end of my story. Instead, he'd only written the end of his own.